So one of the great things about a SQL server or database is that it can hold a ton of data. But that means that you need to know how to filter that data down in order to get an answer out of it. So that's what we're going to be reviewing today in this video. We're going to be talking about the SQL where clause. Now, if you want to follow along with this video, all that you'll really need is access to a SQL server. But if you're trying to teach yourself how to code, or if you're working at your personal computer at home and you don't have tons of money, that can be difficult. Don't worry. This video is part of a SQL series where I'm teaching you how to learn SQL. And the very first video of this series was installing and setting up your own SQL server and database. And not only is it something that you can do on your personal computer that you have at home, I'm also showing you how to do it completely for free. No credit card required, just software that you download from the internet and install on your personal computer. I'm going to link that SQL playlist that this video is a part of that shows you how to install the software, as well as all of the videos that we have up until this point down in the video description. So you can go ahead, click it, and then follow along and join us for this journey where we're learning how to code. With that said, let's jump into the computer and let's get coding. Like with most of these videos, we're going to start by logging into our SQL server. If you're following along with this video series, we're going to do that by opening SSMS. And then once it's opened, we're going to be logging into our localhost server. So let's give this a second to boot up. There we are, localhost SQL Express. And let's go ahead and let's click connect. And just like that, we're in our database. Now, because we're going to be learning a new piece of SQL or some new code, we're going to need to create a new query for us to write that code in. So we're going to do that by clicking this new query button. Then, because we're going to be learning about a where clause, which is an additional SQL keyword, we need to set up our select and our from statements. So we're going to write select star from. And then in this case, if you're following along, we're going to go into our SQL practice database and we're going to select star from our orders table. So we're going to go select star from, we'll go SQL practice, and then we'll go .dbo.orders. And we're just going to run this just to make sure that we don't have any typos in this code. Running your code along the way as you write it is a good best practice. That way you can catch errors as they happen, not try to find them after the fact. And as you can see, this returned data. The where clause goes under the table name. So if you go select from, you then go where. The where clause is what's used to filter records in a query. And essentially what you do is you specify a condition that must be met for a record to be included in results. The where clause lets you pick only rows that match your criteria. So in this case, we could write a statement where we say where customer ID equals 6133. So customer ID being the column, and then the statement that we're evaluating. So we could go customer ID equals 6133. And if we go ahead and we run that, what you'll see is we'll get all of the orders that are customer ID 6133. And that's because this column with this value is the only place where this evaluates to true. Now, in this statement, the equals sign is what's called an operator in our condition. And there's quite a few different operators in SQL. Now, I'm not going to cover all of them because there's different ones for different server environments, and some of them are more advanced than others. But what I do want to cover is a couple of what are called comparison operators, which essentially compare two values and then return a Boolean value of true or false, and then logical operators, which allow you to combine multiple conditions to then create kind of more complex filters. So what I've done is I've put together this sheet, which will be available on my GitHub down in the video description, which shows you the different operators, right? Gives you a brief description of what they are, and then gives you an example SQL statement of what they are. And all of these example SQL statements, if you're following along with our server, will run. The other thing that you can do here is you can also start to see an example of how they work together. So right now, what I want to focus on are the AND statement and then the OR statement in this SQL. So I'm going to take these examples and we're going to go back into our SQL server and we're going to put it into our query. So let's take a look at what this is doing. So this is returning any situation where the category is equal to electronics from our product table or the price is less than $100. So they don't both have to be true, just one in order for them to be included in our results. So we highlight this and run it. What you'll see is that we have here a books category product coming through because the price is less than $100. Simultaneously, we have an electronics category product coming through where the price is more than $100. Now, if we change this to an and, right, and we run this, we'll get situations where only both are true. So only situations where the category is electronics and the price is less than $100. Now, what's really cool about the and the or operators is that we can also use parentheses to have them evaluated together. Very similar to like how in middle school math, we had orders of operations and whatever was evaluated in the parenthesis was always evaluated collectively first. That's the same in SQL. So right here, where we could put these around parentheses, we can then go or category equals, and we can go books. And now if we run this, what you'll see is we're going to get all of our electronics results, but then we're going to get all of our book results as well. So maybe the price limit in this query that we're trying to return, I'm just going to bring this on a new line, is less than $100 for electronics, but we want it to be the category books and less than $10 for a book. Or we'll say we said less than or equals less than $10 for a book. If we now run this, it's either this one has to be true or this one has to be true. So now when we run this right here, what you'll see is we didn't get any books because there's no price. So let's maybe adjust this a little bit more. So let's go 100 or 100, right? And you'll see here we have just our electronics and books that are less than 100. Let's go 150 because I just realized I put those at the same price level. So you can see. So there we go. So here's a books coming through at 112. Now, we can even go a step further, right? So we can now put this in parentheses, right? And we can then use additional criteria. So we could say, and product ID greater than 100. So now what's going to happen, and this is where spacing starts to get important in your query, not for having it run, but just so you can read it better, is first it'll evaluate what's in here, then it'll evaluate what's in here, and then either one of these has to be true. And then for all of the results that were returned here, product ID also has to be greater than 100. So right now we have 18 rows being returned by the previous query. If I run this again, we're going to see it'll refine even further down to just 13 rows. So that's a really exciting one. Another filter that I want to talk about in this video is the in and then the not modifier. So what the not modifier allows you to do is it allows you to essentially take the inverse of something. So if I go category and I go equals electronics, right, and run this, it'll return everything that's electronics. But if I go not, or category, yep, right here, and I rerun this, it returns everything that's not equal to electronics. Now, where this gets really powerful is when we use it with a logical operator called in. So I can go category in electronics, and then I can go and give it a list. So I can say, okay, I want you to return electronics and clothing. All right, and I'll remove the not for now. It'll return all of this. But if I want to say, hey, not in this list, I can then go right here and I can go not in, and it'll modify that. And look, now I get everything that's not in electronics or clothing. So we've now evaluated the and or, the in, the not modifier. Let's take a look at one more example of these more complex scenarios, and that is the like example. Now, this has to be, I would argue, probably one of the most powerful ways to filter your data in SQL. And that's because it allows you to match patterns. So, for example, if I said, if category like, and I go E, or let's just say I knew that my category electronics started with an E. So if I said category equals E and I run this, I'm going to get no results. But if I go category like E and I know, hey, my electronics has a capital E in it somewhere, I can put this percent sign right here, and it'll go through and it'll return all of my electronics categories, right? Now, maybe I'm like, I think, there's maybe someone in the database that misspelled electronics, but I know they got the ECT part. I can put a parenthesis in here. And what this will do is this will search the entire text field for any word or value with this ECT in it and return it. And going back to our previous video, I'm just going to add in a distinct right here, and I'm going to go category, right? And I run this, it will now return electronics just based off that ECT. And if I change this to ONICS, right? And I run this, same thing. Boom. All right, so that's a brief introduction to comparison and logical operators. But with that, it's now time for the part of these videos where I give you some practice problems that you pause the video and you try to solve on your own. So here is problem number 1. Find all customers with a C in their first name. Now, just a reminder, if you want to take on these problems on your own, go watch my Learn SQL for free video series linked down in the playlist down below that this video is a part of, and I'll show you how to set up your local computer exactly like mine is. Okay, pause the video right now and try to write a query that returns all customers with a C in their first name. So here is the SQL query. So I'm selecting star because no specific columns were specified up in the problem from sqlpractice.dbo.customers where the first name like C. And I'm using the 2% to show that the C could be anywhere in the string. So when I go ahead and I run this, what you'll see is it's returning all of the customers with a C in their first name. Okay, here is problem number 2. Write a query to find all the products priced less than $100 that contain either the letter A or H in their product name. Pause the video now and try to write a query that solves this problem. So here is our solution. First of all, because no columns were specified, I'm again just using a select star. Then, because this is from the products table, I'm going to SQL practice.dbo products, saying where price is less than 100, and then in parentheses, I'm going product name like A or product name like H. So when I run this, what you'll see is all the prices are less than $100, and then all of the product names either contain an A or an H. So that is the solution to problem number 2. And with that, I wanted to say congratulations on making it through another lesson. Now, if you want to learn SQL for free And again, completely for free. I'm not trying to sell you on a course. I'm not trying to sell you on my consulting services. Just doing this for the love of the game. Please consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps keep me motivated making the videos and lets me know that you're enjoying them. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back.